Alright, so something that I wanted to do is I wanted to add a new feeder cable from where the solar panel and where my asset tracker is going to be. I'm hiding a GPS tracker in here because I'm not going to be at the property all the time. But it'll do other things, like it'll just keep logs of my of where I'm going around the property, just because I like data, so I'll collect that. As well as give me reporting about the batteries. And by batteries, I mean there's one for the asset tracker and there's also the onboard battery for the tractor. So it's got an accelerometer in it, so if anybody's kind of messing with the tractor, I'll get alerts. And since it's, you know, it's not going to be on my property, I want something to just feel a little more secure about it. But also, I was going to tie into, there's like a beacon plug-in at the top of the tractor, but I can't guarantee that it'll always be connected to 12 volts. So I believe it shuts down when the ignition is off. So I need to run a new 12 volt line, and I wanted to get something that's going to be kind of industrial. And so this is type SJ0OW, I believe? Yeah, SJ0OW. I think it's good for... It says 90C, which should be plenty fine. It's going to be tucked up against the wall and follow the wires. And it's going to go up into the cab. And I was really proud of myself because I got this all done last night, and then I realized I forgot the fuse holder, which is a bummer. I got an inline fuse holder because you don't want to just connect this to the battery and not have any protection, could short out, and so you don't want this wire to catch fire. It's always a good idea to have things fused. Back to the drawing board a little bit on that. I'm going to go cut this up and add the fuse holder. Then we'll continue. Okay, the moral of the story is don't do what I do. What I mean by that is I just kind of zoned out the fuse color wire is black and negative is black, so I just put it on the negative wire without even thinking. And when I realized it was too late, so I had to cut it out and put it back on the white wire. Now, you could fuse the negative wire. The only problem is you really don't want to do that because you could have an issue where it uses some other way back to ground or back to negative, especially in a tractor like this, your negative's connected directly to the frame, so you could still cause a short, and if the path wasn't back on this negative wire, the fuse wouldn't blow and the wire would catch fire, like instantaneously. So put it on the positive wire the first time, and because of that I had to use electrical tape because I didn't have enough room, which I hate using electrical tape. I like using heat shrink, so oh well. So this is just a waterproof inline fuse. Takes standard, I think it's ATC fuses. I'm now ready to put this on, but before I do that, I'm going to disconnect the negative wire because I'm going to have to disconnect the positive, and I don't want my wrench to accidentally ground and weld itself and cause a fire and all that. So let's disconnect the negative wire, and then let's get this connected. So I have it zip tied there so it can't go up and touch this metal body and rub against it. I'm gonna replace this cable. There's nothing that looks like it can rub against there, which is good. Battery's nice and tight. This is on. We zip tie around, lightly zip tied there, and then it shoots behind here. Continues around there, zip tie there, back around that cable, zip tied, and then through there. And you also notice what I was trying to do is keep that cable non-visible to the engine just to protect it from radiant heat. Should be fine anyways, but you know, also just wanted to do the best I can to protect it from that. It took me a while to find these, but I looked all over for a good solar panel solution for the tractor. And I bought one and I really liked it, so I ended up buying 3 of them for my vehicles outside the garage and live outside. And everybody had all sorts of different features, but a lot of solar panels actually don't have a charge controller in them. They just have a float voltage. There's kind of a bit of a debate if it can hurt the battery or not. I'd rather somebody had a charge controller, so I found all of these different solar panels that would just they'd float to almost 18 volts, but you put a load on them, they'd drop down, and people are like, well, that's damaging to a lead acid battery. But then other people say, well, it's such low current. This is 10 watts, and this is a good amount of power. You can get some less. I think you can get anywhere from 1 watt to 20 watts for a car solar charger. 10 seemed like a good number to me. I'm going to be running a GPS asset tracker that needs to be powered that'll be in there. And I felt like this would kind of keep up with the demand based on what it's going to use, and then have plenty left over to keep the battery topped up. When I looked through these, I found a bunch of different models. This was the only one with a built-in charge controller that I really liked. I haven't had a lot of chance to play with some of this Goal Zero stuff, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Something that you'll see here is here's the built-in charge controller and has a little LED on it. You'll see that even just the reflected light in here, you'll see that the charge controller is powered up. That's great. It's generating power. So, and it came with a couple of different dongles, cigarette lighter adapter, which we don't need, but one of my vehicles has a cigarette lighter that's hardwired to the battery. It has one that's on the ignition, one that's hardwired to the battery for accessories. And so that was perfect because I put that on the dash of my truck and then plugged it into that one. That's keeping it charged. And then the other one I use these, which are just battery terminal clips. Clip it to the battery and ran it from the back of the hood and around the side door, and kind of tucked into the seal nicely. And so that's a good one there. We're probably going to cut one of those up. So this is what I'm going to mount to the top of the vehicle. It's got these mount holes, but everybody says that the suction cups that come with them, and they're not very good, the cheap suction cups, but I don't want that. I'm just going to silicone this to the top of the tractor. That should be fine for what I need. Let's go clean the top of the tractor, and let's go mount this puppy up there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with some degreaser. Alright, so something that I found when I was just working around the tractor is that there is a little grommet here for passing into the cab. That's where I'm going to bring the solar panel. What I'm going to do is unwrap this, guess about how much I need, and then I'm going to cut it. And next I'm just going to poke a little hole in this grommet and force it through, and that'll help it stay watertight. So I have a little point tool. I'm going to put it right in the center. There we go. I'm going to attempt to feed this through. There we go. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull the rest of that. So I want to make sure I leave myself enough room to follow this contour. Come down. Just about like that. Let's go inside and finish this up. So it makes a nice clean turn up and then behind this panel. I don't really like this cable. Round wire is actually the shield. Positive is the center wire. So what we're going to do, we're going to use ferrules, which are some of my favorite things. Now what I want to do is just verify that I'm getting 12 volts, that is the positive wire. Yes, so positive wire is that white wire, which is great. Sometimes you never know, sometimes in the factory they actually will reverse the connecting cable. I've seen that happen a couple of times. I've had bought multiple products or something, and some of them will be, the wires will be connected correctly, and the others they will not, even though they're the exact same product. So I like to just double check that. Next thing I'm going to use are these Wago connectors. They're nice little terminal blocks. You open them up, put these in, click them closed, and they're in there. There we go. And now we have the feed from the battery. Once again, the fuse is out on this, otherwise we could do some damage by just cutting them. Now, this is kind of nice because for future accessories or anything, I've got 12 volts to go back to the battery as long as it's not super high current. This is 18 gauge, so you could pull 5 to 10 amps safely. So anyhow, I'm going to tuck this back here now. Okay, so to follow this, there's the cable coming from outside. Goes up behind there. Goes into here. Goes into these. No stress on any of this. Down to the cab. There's no need to clean all that because that's gross. Okay, so now the moment of truth to see if solar has done anything. And I have 2 meters here. The first one, I'm going to set 2 amps. And I'm going to take a reading of how much current is going into the battery. So first, I'm going to verify that we have 12 volts. So I'm going to pop off this cover, fuse holder that I installed. 14.76 volts. And the battery is currently at 12.83. So the 14 volts was from the solar panel. We have no fuse installed yet, so it's a broken connection. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor the current flow if I get one of these probes on each side. Alright, so it looks like we've got about half an amp flowing to the battery, which is fantastic. It means that it's charging. So, that all being said, I need to put the fuse in. So what I had sitting around was a 10 amp fuse. I'll probably go to pick up a 5 amp fuse. There's no reason that it needs to be that high right now. Now let's check the battery voltage. I think it was like 12.83 before. 12.88 now. 12.88, 12.89. So it's definitely charging.
Thanks for watching. And as always, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel.
And I'm going to get some pancake breakfast, because I deserve it.